Hey, I'm Slash.
So congrats. What's it like? You know, this record has been done for a while, and now it's finally out. What's the feeling?
It's pretty exciting. You know, we finished it in May, and so you know, in June, we're sort of getting a lot of stuff together. But then we got to tour with Aerosmith for July and August and some of September, which worked out really well because I think I probably would have gone nuts waiting for this to come out in September, waiting over 2 months. So it's great.
You're probably one of the hardest working musicians that I can think of, especially doing promotion, you know, when you launch a record. Do you sometimes get tired and just want to like take a bunch of time off? Because you don't really do that very often.
I'm not really good with taking time off. You know, what happens is I get antsy. You know, there's always stuff that needs to get done, or there's riffs or songs to write or whatever. And so, you know, I like sort of getting in the thick of it and just keeping busy.
Your guitars. How many guitars do you play, and did any of them have names?
I don't have any names for any of my guitars. But as far as how many I play, well, I've got like, let's see, I'd say roughly 6 or 8 guitars on the road with me now. And then when I'm at home and say like, you know, doing a session, I've got one main go-to guitar that I record with. And then I've got a bunch of different other ones for different applications, acoustic guitars, 12-string guitars. Sometimes if I'm looking for a particular kind of a sound that's different than Les Paul, I've got, you know, different. I've tried to play everything, you know, but I've found the longer that I do this, the less instruments I actually really need.
Les Paul played until his 90s, yeah. You know, Joe Perry's still out there playing. You're going to be the big 5-0 next year. Yeah. I mean, do you see yourself getting older and continuing to play?
You know, I think that, I mean, I can't speak on behalf of other people, but I don't really think about that. You're really sort of just doing what you're doing now, and it seems to continue and continue and continue. So I would say I'll probably be playing until I'm pushing daisies.
What's your favorite song to play live? I mean, you know, there's a lot of favorites, I'm sure, but that one song that you're like, you know, I always enjoy playing this one.
Well, I mean, I love playing Paradise City. It's always been the show closer since way back when. I've never found a song to sort of top it as the show closer. You know, I like playing, believe it or not, I still like playing Sweet Child of Mine, more so now than I did back in, you know, when the song was its inception. I love playing the new song, World on Fire. It's the only song in the set that has that sort of tempo and that sort of kind of, I don't know, it's just the sort of vibe that it has. Let's see, I dig playing a song called No More Heroes from the Apocalyptic Love record. I love playing You're a Lie, you know. I mean, you know, I pretty much don't put stuff in the set unless I dig playing it, but I really enjoy playing everything, because no matter what, I find a challenge in every song. You know, maybe in just trying to make it so that it's more interesting if you play it all the time. There's always something you can do that makes it interesting on guitar, you know.
The hat. When you wrote your book, you told a great story about finding the hat and modifying the hat. Give us the story.
Well, I guess it was 1985, and you know, the funny thing is always trying to find a cool hat to wear and just never finding the one that really fit you, you know, the one that really you felt comfortable in. And we had a show at the Whiskey, and I was walking around Melrose, penniless as usual, and I went into the store that Tammy Downs used to work in, called Retail Slut. And I went in there, I saw a top hat through the window. and I went in and I was looking at it, and the store was really busy, and it's a small store, right? So no one really noticed me, and I tried it on, and I was like, this fits perfectly, and it just felt right. So I just sort of walked out of the store with the hat, you know, and nobody came after me, so I held on to it, and then I went next door to a place called Leathers and Treasures and found a concho belt, which, you know, I borrowed as well, and I cut that to fit the hat, and you know, wore that night, and there was just something, you know, something that just clicked about it. It was a great way to sort of just hide, you know, and just became my thing ever since.
What's the difference for you in writing music for films versus your band?
Well, you know, the thing about writing, you know, scoring for a movie is that it's doing something to a visual, and it's very thematic and emotional on a different level than when you're writing in the context of a rock and roll band, and it's got sort of like you know, anywhere from a definitive amount of time that you're going to be working, from 3 minutes to 4 to 6 minutes, whatever it is. It's a different approach, and I find that I explore a lot more when I'm writing for a movie, and I go for different sounds, different feels and stuff, more so than I do when I'm in a rock, you know, writing for a rock and roll band. But there's a song on this new record that I actually tried to apply my scoring mentality to my rock song mentality, and it's called The Unholy, and so that ended up working out, you know, pretty well.
What are some goals you've set for yourself for this album cycle? I mean, are there any things that you would like to see the band achieve that you haven't done yet?
I don't know if there's goals that I've got sort of set for the band that we're reaching for. I mean, I think it's more in, you know, trying to write a record that you feel proud of and feel like you've accomplished something artistically or creatively, and then you want to go out and just play. And what happens is the size of the venues starts to change. Like we're playing, you know, like we were playing the O2 in London and also in Ireland and stuff. And so that's something that I didn't see coming. But that would have been necessarily a set goal for me to be able to play in an arena. So those are things that just sort of happen naturally. But as a band, you just want to, to maintain that excitement, which means stepping up from where you were last year in some way, shape, or form. It's not a definitive thing. It's just the feel of progressing as a band and so on.
What would you do if you weren't doing what you're doing?
If I wasn't playing guitar, you know, it's funny because when I started playing guitar, I was totally into BMX and motocross, and that's what I was thinking that I wanted to do with my life at that particular point in time. But I doubt I would have stuck with that to this point. You know, the one constant is drawing and illustration, which is the only other thing that I'm really any good at. So I probably would have, you know, been in the art world in some way, shape, or form.
What are some things today that make you happiest?
You know, watching the kids grow up is definitely something that I get a thrill out of. You know, I hate to sound shallow, but guitars and guitar playing and everything about what it is that I do is something that I love, you know, as much now or as I ever have, if not more so. And so that's what makes me happy as well, is just playing every day and having gigs to play and records to make and all that. Was
there any music or outside stuff that might have influenced any of the music you wrote for the new record?
Outside of, you know, I mean, I definitely, some of my scoring experience had some influence on the album. But I can't say, I just really, when we got into working out these songs and you know, pre-production and all that kind of stuff, it was really about just what we were doing. It wasn't really about any outside music. What's your go-to music when you're just in your car or, you know, just want to listen to something? What do you like to listen to? Well, I think my favorite go-to band is still the Stones. It's one band that I can listen to in any mood at any time of the day that always works. And a lot of my favorite bands I can only listen to in certain moods or at certain times, and the Stones have always been my sort of go-to band. What was your first concert? Well, let's see. I went to a lot of concerts as a kid with my parents and stuff, but my first concert that I went to of my own volition, bought my own tickets, was the World Music Festival in Los Angeles at the Coliseum. It was 2 days, and I think this was 1978, and it was Aerosmith and Van Halen headlining an entire day festival with like Eddie Money and UFO and the Babies and REO Speedwagon and I don't know, Mother's Finest, all these crazy bands. And then the next day was Ted Nugent, Cheap Trick. So quite the experience, you know.
You perform with some of the biggest names in this business, you know, Michael Jackson, Ray Charles, James Brown. I mean, you played with a lot of people. What's your favorite experience?
That's a tough one because all these sessions that I've done with all these different artists, they're all uniquely different. But I'd have to say the one that meant the most to me was playing with Ray Charles, because you know I was definitely out of my comfort zone. When I worked with him, we worked on God Bless America Again, which is a very simple sort of guitar solo kind of thing. And then he had me stay on to work on the Ray movie before he passed away. And then I had to work with his band, and they, you know, talking about chord changes and jazz and this and the other. And these old guys are all looking around and going, "Who's this guy?" And he doesn't know anything of what we're doing. Why did you call him in? But I had a way of feeling my way through it and it ended up working out. And that was a great learning experience, and I have so much respect for Ray and all that, so that was very cool.
During this album cycle, you're going to be playing 3 of the clubs that you played in very young, when you were very young, the Troubadour, the Roxy, and the Whiskey. What's it going to be like for you stepping into these venues again?
Well, I'm excited about it. All things considered, I've played a bunch of performances at the Whiskey over the last couple of years. I jammed with Lita Ford at the Whiskey. I played with Beth Hart at the Whiskey. I played with Aerosmith at the Whiskey when we announced the Aerosmith tour, and some other gigs. And then I played with Camp Freddy almost countless times at the Roxy, you know, over the last few years. And the Troubadour is the one place that I haven't played. Last time I played at the Troubadour was with Cypress Hill. And, you know, that wasn't that long ago, but it's one of the places I played at the fewest since the old days. But it's going to be great just sort of playing in these small rooms, especially after doing all the arenas and festivals with Aerosmith. Just playing these small rooms to sort of more or less a hometown crowd. I know it's going to be a cluster, you know, I mean, because it's LA, but it's going to be fun delivering these songs in that kind of intimate atmosphere. And we just did a gig recently, basically last night, which was at Santos, what is it called? Santos Party House. Tiny little place, and went up there and had to turn the gear down to be able to fit into this room, and it was really, really good. And it was nice to be. I love being that toe to toe to an audience because you really feel their response, you know, and you feed the energy. That interaction is instantaneous, and it's hard to do that in a big arena or in a stadium.
Spinal Tapian moment?
My Spinal Tap moment? Oh God, I know I have tons of them, but now that you ask me, I'm going to totally blank. Probably the biggest Spinal Tap moment I've had is getting on the wrong plane. Somehow managing to get on the wrong plane. This was actually a few years ago, but I think that's the most Spinal Tap moment I've had recent memory.
Well, the one that I kind of remember is when Axl fell off the stage. But it wasn't for you, but I mean, you know.
No, but I didn't see that. I was too busy at the time facing my amps and all pissed off about whatever it was that we were fighting about. That was opening for the Stones, right? And I heard about that later.
Well, let's wrap up with what would you like to say to fans out there?
Well, I got to say the enthusiasm and support for this record, even before it came out, you know, especially all the people that downloaded it. But I mean, it's been really palpable. It's been so cool, and I just appreciate it. And I can't wait to get out on the road because I know that a lot of people are just really into seeing us play and hearing these songs live. So I got to say thank you for that, and then for everything that's gone into getting us to where we're at now, you know, since 2010.
Let me just also ask about what you think the future of the album is going to be, because, you know, I've talked to like Cornell was saying, you know, maybe it's going to turn into a subscription service. You know, we're not going to put out full albums anymore. We might put out a few songs at a time. Where do you see, or do you have a sense about it?
I hear a lot of different people talking in more or less a negative way about the future of how we're going to put music out. You know, and you can tell from World on Fire and the 17 songs, and it's on vinyl and this and that and the other, that I'm beholden to the old school tradition of putting a body of work on, you know, a record or a CD and delivering it that way. I'd hate to get into this thing where you know, you're forced to have to release song by song, or, you know, have to cater to the audience by mail or something like that. So we'll see what happens, but I don't see any reason to get away from putting everything that you want, every statement you want to make onto one package and just putting it out there.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, it's nice being here.